warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear viewers, welcome to the 9 p.m. English News Edition. Here are the top stories of our news. The head of state presented the work of the 11th meeting of the Council of Ministers. UN High Commissioner denounced Israeli plan to annex West Bank. Hello, welcome to our newsroom for having the news in details. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, wished success and prosperity to his new Malawian counterpart, Mr. Lazarus Chakwera, winner of the presidential election held in that country. In a congratulatory telegram sent to Malawi's new head of state, the President described the victory of Mr. Lazarus as the badge of popular support for political leadership. The overwhelmingly winning score that disposed to your election provides you and with all the necessary legitimacy to initiate policies and projects that you deem useful for the development of your country and the well-being of your people. President Guelleh wrote in substance, at the age of 65, Malawi's new president is a leading figure in the country's political landscape. He succeeded Peter Mutharika, as Malawi's chief. Moving now to news subject led by the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh. The Council of Ministers held its 11th session for 2020 at the Presidential Palace this morning, Tuesday, June 30 this year. During the session, the ministers discussed several texts and projects on the agenda of this session. Let's listen to the report.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, sous la présidence du chef de l'État, Son Excellence M. Ismail Omar Guelleh.
First question, Draft Finance Act on the amending state budget for the financial year 2020. The Draft Amending Finance Act for the year 2020 is part of a particular context marked by the current COVID-19 pandemic at a global level, with consequences on the national economy. The state's draft amending budget for the financial year 2020 is presented in balance and set in income and expenditure at 159 billion Djiboutian francs. Domestic resources show a significant drop in all tax items, direct, indirect, and other taxes, external resources, grants, and loans provided for within the framework of this draft amending Finance Act 2020 are on the increase mainly due to the fungible financing received from external partners within the framework of the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. In terms of the expenditure, the amending budget provides for an increase in current expenditure, and capital expenditure shows a decrease due to the cumulative decrease in capital expenditure on external resources on the one hand and capital expenditure on domestic financing decided by the government to finance the war effort against COVID-19 on the other. This draft amending budget bill emphasizes the strengthening of the health and social protection system and support for productive activities in order to ensure macroeconomic stability and preserve employment. Following the declaration of the coronavirus pandemic, the government decided to react in several ways in order to limit the consequences. In particular, an emergency plan has been put in place to deal with the pandemic, safeguard the national productive fabric by increasing the resources of the Guarantee Fund, providing assistance to the vulnerable populations in the form of food distribution, setting up strategic food stockpile, and supporting health structures. Thus, the various measures proposed are aimed at correcting the level of tax revenues and mitigating the impact of the economy, while promoting rapid economic recovery. Ministry of Economy and Finance in charge of industry. Second question, draft law on the ratification of the consensual financing agreement relating to the Damerjog Power Plant project. The bill aims at ratifying the consensual financing agreement amounting to about 17 billion Djiboutian francs with the Arab Fund for Economic and Social Development concluded on April 17, 2020. This financing will be used for the construction for an energy production plant in Damerjog in a first phase of 15 MW and the development of the electricity transmission network. The project aims to improve energy production in order to meet the growing demand for energy. The project includes the construction of a new diesel biofuel power plant, the supply and installation of generators, and all civil and electrical works and accessories. The project will be implemented by the Electricity of Djibouti, whose role will be to coordinate, supervise, and monitor the execution of the project. Third question, draft law to ratify the additional financing agreement for the development response to displacement impacts in the Horn of Africa project. This project is a continuation of the project signed on 6 June 2016 between the Republic of Djibouti and the International Development Association. On 8 June 2020, our country obtained additional financing of 1.8 billion Djiboutian francs from the IDA, which will make it possible to improve access to basic social services, increase economic opportunities, and strengthen environmental management for communities hosting refugees. It aims to reinforce the expected results with additional infrastructure and the strengthening of programs already implemented, such as the Environmental Preservation Program and the Women and Youth Livelihood Development Program. The project also aims to put in place a mechanism to enable the government to provide an urgent response in case of crisis. It is a clear support from our country despite its limited resources that has maintained an open door policy for refugees, a commitment to protect them for more than 4 decades through legislative reforms and the adoption of the global framework for action for refugee women.
Moving now to the second part of the Ministers' Council, important projects were approved, and among the most important projects, let's hear this from this report again.
Question est relative à un projet de loi portant.
Fourth question, draft law on the ratification of the consensual financing agreement relating to the project on policy development and economic management and development of statistics. The purpose of the draft law is to ratify a consensual financing agreement amounting to 2 billion Djiboutian francs between the Republic of Djibouti and the International Development Association. Our country has put in place policies aimed at increasing productivity, modernizing and making the administration more efficient within the framework of the Second Development Plan of Vision 2035. The implementation of these policies will require solid, integrated statistical and economic information for planning, monitoring, and evaluating programs. However, despite the government's efforts to date, the country's statistical capacity is very weak and the economic management process is deficient. The objective of this project is to strengthen the capacity of the National Institute of Statistics of Djibouti to produce and disseminate up-to-date and reliable statistics in a sustainable manner and to modernize economic and fiscal management tools and processes. The project aims to strengthen the operational capacity of the INSD to enhance the capacity of the Institute for macroeconomic modernization for short, medium, and long-term forecasting, macroeconomic and microeconomic simulation, and debt sustainability analyses, and to strengthen the country's capacity in the areas of project contribution, supervision, financial management, and awareness raising. Fifth question, draft law on the ratification of the consensual financing agreement on emergency low-cost control response. The purpose of the draft law is to ratify a consensual financing agreement amounting to about 1 billion Djiboutian francs between the Republic of Djibouti and the World Bank to support low-cost control, preserve food security, and protect people's livelihoods. This project demonstrates the government's commitment in the agriculture sector to bring relief to populations facing problems of food insecurity and poverty. It also responds to a key priority of the government's 2035 vision, which aims at consolidating human capital and strengthening state capacity. The objective of this project is to prevent and respond to the threat of low-cost invasion and to strengthen our country's preparedness system. Thus, this project provides for the acquisition of an aircraft designed for insecticide and pesticide-sparing operations. A low-cost control center will be set up in Ubukh.
Now, the General Secretary for Health, Minister Dr. Salah bin Turab, has made his daily press briefing on the situation of COVID-19 in Djibouti. More details with Dini Musa.
As of Tuesday, 30 June 2020, the main data relating to the evolution of the COVID-19 epidemic in the Republic of Djibouti, stated by the Health Secretary General Dr. Saleh bin Turab, is as follows. 392 tests were carried out. 91 patients were reported cured. 26 tests were positive. 1 new case of death. The rate of positivity is 6.6% of the total number of tests performed and is still below 10%. This confirms that since the beginning of June, the spread of the disease has been bumpy. This low circulation of the virus does not mean that we should lower our guard. Quite the contrary, it is at this crucial stage to raise the level of vigilance, in particular through collective adherence to strict compliance with barrier measures and reinforced surveillance and control at entry points. In view of their vulnerability, people with disabilities or comorbidities must be screened early to avoid any subsequent complications. Please do not hesitate to call 1517, which is available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. The overall assessment is summarized as follows. 46,500 tests have been carried out, of which 4,682 people were diagnosed positive for COVID-19. 4,524 cases were reported cured. 54 deaths have been recorded since the beginning of the pandemic in the Republic of Djibouti. Stay alert, protect yourself and others.
Now, the management of the National Water and Sanitation Office of Djibouti informs the inhabitants of the town of Balbala City and Al Sabih and Dikil that the drinking water supply will be distributed during the days of Tuesday, June 30 and Wednesday, July 1st, 2020 due to the repair works of the water supply pipe of Ethiopia. Now, the in charge of the ambassador of Somalia accredited in Djibouti, Abdurrahman Mohammed Hirab, today issued a statement on the national holiday of Somalia on June 1st, on the 60th anniversary of the independence of Somalia. On the occasion of the celebration of the 60th anniversary of the independence of Somalia and the unification of the northern and southern region of Somalia, I extend, he said, I extend my warm congratulations to the President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, his Prime Minister, Hassan Ali Khair, and his government, and express my appreciation for their efforts and progress in the various fields of politics, security, and the economy of Somalia. I would also like to take this opportunity to extend my congratulations to the entire Somali population throughout the world, inside and outside Somalia, and urge them to be united and show solidarity in all circumstances, for it is essential to ensure solidarity and social cohesion. I would also like to pay tribute to all our independence fighters who have participated in one way or another in the liberation of our country and in the achievement of our dear independence, by briefly recalling that independence was achieved only after a hard-fought language and enormous sacrifices. On the other hand, I would like to congratulate President Ismail Omar Guelleh, his Prime Minister, his government, and the entire people of Djibouti for the celebration of the 43rd anniversary of their independence of the Republic of Djibouti, and I would like to take this opportunity to wish them my best wish of happiness and prosperity to the entire population of Djibouti. Now, the Saudi Arabian Embassy in Djibouti handed over this morning a generator destined for the village of Adailu in Tajura region. This 150 kVA group will be used to supply a locality in the Tajura region. The handover ceremony took place at the Embassy of Saudi Arabia in Djibouti in the presence of the Consul General of the Embassy of Saudi Arabia. The ceremony was attended by Mr. Lafi Al-Matairi and the advisor of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Omar Hussein, and by the technical advisor of the Assembly in the region of Tajura, who received the generator, Mr. Yusuf Mutuna Abakari. In a brief statement, the Saudi Consul, Mr. Lafi Al-Mutairi, stressed that this generator is intended for a locality located in the region of Tajura. He recalled that this donation is part of the cooperation between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Republic of Djibouti. Now, the three great personalities have just been awarded and distinguished this morning by the authorities of the region. Let us know that each of these personalities has contributed in their own way to the well-being of our fellow citizens. Firstly, Colonel Ali Shahim Daoud, the valiant soldier distinguished in the civil-military action in the sub-region, where the army provides social assistance in the field, as varied under the command of Colonel Ali Shahim Daoud. The army is at the origin of the infrastructure of the bases such as the school of Margoita, the water point, and the rehabilitation of tracks, etc., are many remarkable achievements testimony to the unfailing commitment to the population. As for the RTD correspondent, the tireless Said Dembio was an unescapable personalities of the region who crisscrossed with his camera the whole region to implement the potentialities of the area and its natural beauty. Said Dembio is at the origin of the realization of numerous reports in the region, a well-deserved recognition. Finally, the Councillor Ali Dini, an exemplary elected official who spares no effort and who always remains close to his population to allow them to live a dignified and peaceful life. This recognition ceremony saw the participation of the prefect of the region, the president of the regional council, as well as the director general of the RTD, Mr. Mahmoud Suleiman Hared, by the president of the regional council, to address a special thanks to the director of the RTD for having honored them with their physical presence. In the interview with Edembio, cameraman said that this award is honorary for me. On the other side, it is an award that makes the radio and television of Djibouti proud. Let's listen to him.
This award is honorary for me. On the other side, it is an award that makes the radio and television of Djibouti proud. For decentralization, too, it shows how much work the correspondents do on a daily basis, crisscrossing the entire region with their cameras to make the most of the region's potential and natural beauty. I worked as a correspondent for 9 years in Tajura with the population. I have a good relation with them. This award also shows the best collaboration existing with the population.
Now in Al Sabih, BCIMR has signed a partnership with the ADDS through its local branch of the CPEC that temporarily house its bank branch. Indeed, following the incident that took place during the demonstration of the 5 June 2020, the BCIMR branch of Al Sabih was burned down and one of the staff members was injured. The investigation is underway to get to the bottom of this event. The BCIMR has mobilized with the partners, which are the CPEC, the Central Bank of the Prefecture of Ali Sabih, to find a solution to reopen at the earliest with a view to pursuing its mission of developing economic activities in the interior region, but also its commitment to proximities. The signing ceremony was attended by the Prefect of the region, Mr. Musa Aden Migane, the Director General of the ADDS, Mr. Mahdi Mohammed Jama, the President of the CPEC of the South, Mrs. Amina Idris Ismail. Now, after the rural locality of Faradil, those of 1,000-year-old village of the Asbiyo and the agricultural bush area of Dure received last Thursday a donation of livestock consisting of 100 goats and 2 others respectively. It is a donation of goats of local and improved breeds to 10 families in the Asbiyo and 20 agro-pastoralists in Dure, a bush area some 8 kilometers from the village. In addition to the animals, today's beneficiaries received a significant amount of cattle feed, including 10 tons of mixed grain, 300 tons of hay. For their part, the beneficiaries of this goat herd donation all expressed their immeasurable joy at the project to strengthen the livelihood and reduce the vulnerability of pastoral communities in the Republic of Djibouti. Now it is with a great sorrow and deep sadness that we learn of the death yesterday at the Sudanese hospital, Mr. Shurdon Osman Farah, known as Anter. Born in Djibouti, the late Shurdon Osman Farah was a talented footballer who established himself as a key player in every team he played for. He started his football career with the Kartila team, then SID, and finally the Power team. He was an employee of the Djiboutian Office for the Development and Geothermal Energy, ODEC. He was 29 years old, man in the prime of his life, a young husband living behind a widow and 2 children. He was a person who was very much appreciated by his friends, colleagues, and all those who knew him. In these painful circumstances, the friends of the late Shurdon Osman Farah, all the Djiboutian players, the director of the ODDEG and all the ODDEG staff offered their deepest condolences to the family and friends of the late Shurdon Osman Farah alias Enter. We pray Allah, to the Most High, merciful, to grant him his forgiveness and to welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Now, the family of Mohammed Hadi announces that the body of the deceased Samia Mohammed Hadi, who died in Turkey on the night of 27 June in Istanbul, Turkey, will arrive tomorrow Wednesday at 6:00 a.m. in Djibouti for burial in the morning at the PK12 cemetery. The ceremony of Mulud will also be the same day at 14:00 at his home. Moving on to international news now. The G5 Sahel countries and France are meeting this Tuesday at Nouakchott to take stock of the struggle against the jihadists 6 months after they decided to intensify the joint effort to regain lost ground in the region. More details with Dina Musa.
Macron and the heads of state of Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad are meeting on Tuesday, 30 June in Nouakchott, the Mauritanian capital, 6 months after the promises exchanged in Pau. The French president and the president of the Spanish government, Pedro Sanchez, are making their first trip to Africa since the coronavirus crisis on the occasion of this G5 Sahel summit. On 13 January, the summit in Pau was organized after a series of setbacks by the armies of the region in the face of the jihadists, the death of 13 French soldiers, an operation in questioning of the French intervention. The heads of state of the G5 Sahel and the French ally had then decided to concentrate their action against the Islamic State organization in the three border zone, Mali, Burkina, and Niger, under the joint command of the French force, Barkhane, and the G5 Sahel anti-jihadist force.
For several weeks now, demonstrations have been held almost daily in the Gaza Strip to protest against the U.S. plan for the Middle East. More details with Dina Musa again.
For several weeks now, demonstrations have been held almost daily in the Gaza Strip to protest against the U.S. plan for the Middle East. It provides for the creation of a Palestinian state on a restricted territory and the annexation by Israel of settlements in the Jordan Valley in the occupied West Bank. Despite the condemnation, we have had no message from the European Union about the exact consequences for the price Israel will pay if it continues this huge violation of international law of the UN Charter. Noor Odeh, political analyst in Ramallah, West Bank. The Israeli government must decide from Wednesday on the implementation of the American plan. This July 1st will be a day of anger on the Palestinian side at the calls of Hamas. I believe that a complete annexation of all Israeli settlements in the Jordan Valley would lead to international reactions that the government would not want to have. I think that if something were to happen, it would probably be something more gradual, something slightly more symbolic.
This is it for this edition of 9 p.m. Stay for the rest of the program and have a wonderful night.